Welcome children in my next video on data and data types. So children, now when we have talked about the different data types in computer, the different primitive data types in computer, we have studied that there are 8 different types of data in computer. They are double, float, long, int, short, char, byte and boolean. And children, I have written them according to their memory size. So double is the biggest data type. After that we have float. Then we have long, integer, short, character, byte and boolean. Now children, I have put a cross in front of boolean because in boolean data type you cannot do calculation. So children, when you are going to do calculations in computer with the help of these data type, you will be doing calculations with the help of expressions. Now you all know expressions are the combination of variables and operators. They are a combination of variables, constants and operators, and through which evaluation of expression is done or calculation is done. And as I told you in my last video, when you have these 7 different data types, leaving the boolean data types, and when you do calculations with these different data types, the computer is not going to do calculations with different data type. It can do calculations only when the data type are of the same data type. So this is a potential error which occurs over there. Now this is sorted out by the term called type conversion. So now, as you all know children, there are 7 different data types which needs to be converted into another data type for a time being till that expression gets evaluated. So children, if you talk about type conversion, the definition of type conversion is that type conversion is the conversion of one primitive data type into another. So the conversion of one primitive data type into another primitive data type is called as type conversion. And children, this type conversion in Java is of 2 types. It is implicit type conversion and explicit type conversion. So 2 types of conversions are there: implicit type conversion and explicit type conversion. So children, when we talk about implicit type conversion, there are some other names given to it. It is also called as automatic type conversion, or it is also called as type promotion, or it is also called as widening conversion, and it is also known as cohesion. So children, when we are talking about these type conversions, we say that it is also called implicit type conversion, is also called as automatic type conversion, type promotion, widening conversion or cohesion, and explicit type conversion we can also call as type casting. Now children, the difference between them is that this implicit type conversion is done by the compiler automatically, and this explicit type conversion is done by the user in order to change the data according to his requirement. So children, when we define this implicit type conversion, we say that implicit type conversion is the conversion of one primitive data type into another primitive data type by the compiler, where the compiler changes the operands of the lower data type into the higher data type. So here the data type, if you have 2 data type, one is of short data type and another is of bigger data type, then the bigger data type promotes the lower data type into the higher data type. And lower and higher data types can be understood by this table. Say for example, if you have 2 data type, one is double and integer, then there can be no evaluation between these 2 data types. So what it does, the implicit type conversion changes the int data type into the double, into the higher data type. Now both the data types becomes double, and then the evaluation takes place. It can be addition, subtraction, multiplication or any other arithmetic operation, and the result obtained is of type double, that is the higher data type. If you have a float and a short data type, you want to do calculation with it, then the compiler automatically converts the short data type into float, and then a float data type evaluates with a float data type and gives you the result of float. In the same way, if you have integer and long data type, or int and long data type, then int is smaller data compared to long, so int will get converted into long, and then long and long can evaluate together to give you a long data type. So children, in implicit data type, the shorter data or the smaller data is promoted to the higher data type by the compiler. That is why it is also called as type promotion, or it is also called as widening. So there is no loss of data. if an integer data gets converted into float or into long, then say if integer data is 7, it will get converted into 7.0. So there is no error in it. Now the next type of conversion is the explicit type conversion. Now children, this conversion is the conversion of one primitive data type into another primitive data type by the user, where the user intentionally forces the conversion of one data type into another. He may even want to convert a bigger data type into smaller. So there is a syntax, or there is a way of doing it, and the syntax is you write a data type and a value. Now children, value I want to explain you over here. A value can be in three forms. It can be a constant, it can be a variable, and it can be an expression. Say for example, I want to write, say x is equal to 50. So children, 50 over here is a value in constant form. And if I say x is equal to y, where I say y is equal to 10, so y is holding a value 10, but here I am representing it as y. So y is a variable over here. And in the same way, I can even write as y plus x. Or I can say y plus 10. So this is an expression. So children, 50 which is a constant, y which is a variable, and y plus 10 is an expression. All these are different forms of values. So in the same way, when you want to convert one data type into another data type explicitly by the user, then you do it like that. You write the data type to which you want to convert and you put a value. Say for example, if I want to convert this double value into integer, then the way of doing it will be, as the value returned will be integer. So I will be doing int, that is the data type, I want to convert it to int 7.5. So this A now is going to hold a value of 7. This data 7.5 gets converted to integer, which is 7. And in the same way, if I want to store int b is equal to int x, I want to convert this x, this variable, into int, and say this value x is 5.5. So this 5.5 will get converted into integer, and b is going to hold a value of 5. In the same way children, if I want to convert a divided by b, and I want to put a double wrapper over here, and I want to convert this into c, then in this conversion, first this value a, suppose this value is of integer data type, it will get converted into double, and then it will get divided, and then the net result will be stored in C. And if I write a divided by as a whole, then children, first this value will be evaluated, this bracket will be evaluated, whatever the value you receive, then that will be converted to double. So children, these are different ways we can convert these values by the user to any different data type. Here a bigger value is being converted to a smaller value. Now children, when we are doing this explicit type conversion, you see over here there are some problems. One problem is, if you are converting a bigger floating data type into a smaller floating data type. That is, if you want to convert a double value into a float value, then there are two chances of error, that the float value to which you want to convert may be small, and the double value which you are converting is big. So it may not get fit into that data type, so there will be a loss of data. And maybe in the fractional part, the double is holding a much larger fractional value compared to the float. So only a float value will accommodate the value it can hold. So there will be a loss of the fractional part also. And children, if you want to convert double of float into integer, which we have seen over here, there will always be a loss of the fractional part, and also the value to which you are converting may be of larger data type, may be bigger, and it cannot fit into that data type. So there may be loss of the fractional part or loss of the data also. And if you want to store a bigger integer data type, that is long into integer or long into byte or short, then also a loss of data may occur. But children, this is very important when you are doing evaluation. And the next topic we will be doing will be operators in Java, which we already have studied in literals. And after operators, and we'll be doing our expressions. And when we'll be solving the expression, we'll see this thing into consideration, that there is no loss of data. So type conversion, if it is done automatically, then it is okay. But if it is not done automatically, then we have to force that data to be converted to a specific type, then it is called as explicit type conversion. Children, regarding the notes, you can learn them from the book. It is given. I hope you have followed this topic. Type conversion is the conversion of one primitive data type into another primitive data type. It is done by two ways. One is implicit. In implicit type conversion, the conversion is done by the computer automatically, where the computer forces the smaller data type to be converted into the bigger data type. And explicit data type is the conversion done by the programmer, where the programmer forces the data to be converted to a specific data type according to his requirement. Yes, children. Thank you very much. Then we'll continue with the next topic. Thank you very much.